Live from our home studios around North America. Please welcome the hosts of DevCentral Connects, Boo Lamb and Peter Silva. Peter Silva. Hey, that's me. I'm on live. Hey there, community. Welcome to our DevCentral Connects live stream. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We live stream every Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. If you're into the internet, application delivery, application services, InfoSec, any of those types of topics, that's what we talk about. So thanks for joining us. Maybe hit that subscribe button. And we got a lot more content on the channel other than our live streams. The other cool thing we do is at 9 a.m. Pacific, right after this show, we host the DevCentral Connects after show. It's essentially an open mic for you to come join us on the DevCentral platform. That's community.f5.com. We'll show you where to find that during the show, I am sure, but make sure you join community.f5.com and then jump on the after show with us. With that, I'd like to bring on my co-pilot for the day today. As I mentioned at the top, it's my good buddy, Boo Lamb. Boo, what's
Hey, Jim.
happening?
Hey, I am, it feels like I only just got back from vacation, but I know I've been back for a whole week and a little bit at this point. But still, maybe have a little bit of my mind back in Hawaii at this point. But glad to be here.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get the island life out of your head after enjoying a couple of weeks with, no clock and 220,000 nautical miles around you, eh?
It's a really different, you know this, it's a really different pace when you're on an island, and even the people that are living there and working there, they're at a different pace, and yeah, it's a shock to your system to come back to this pace.
One of the funnest things I always thought was cool is during the winter and at school time, there's some schools that actually let the students out early. It's like once a month or maybe at once a week. I can't remember the exact cadence, but they let them out early so that they can have time to go to the beach and surf.
Nice.
So it's kind of, I don't know. I just always
Well,
thought that was pretty cool.
it was incredible to see the age of some of the kids surfing out there. Like I swear the girl was maybe 8 or maybe 10 years old surfing. Maybe a parent was off to on the beach, or they were surfing themselves, but a little girl, maybe 8 or 10 years old, was catching waves, and it was just incredible to watch her make that progress in an early age.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I might have told this story before, but when I was probably less than 6 months old, shoot, I have the picture on my desktop, but at Waikiki, there's it's where all the hotels are, but they got this little like breakers where they, built out a section, and it's for toddlers and, real youngsters, people learning how to swim. And at 6 months old, my mom literally threw me into the ocean. It's like, you better learn how
Teach her
to
swim.
swim if you're living on an island. So, and we did that with our own daughter in a pool one day. She was only like 4, 6 months old. We just chucked her in the pool and let her
Wow.
start swimming. The thing about it is they'll tend to, roll on their back like they have been for the
Mhm.
last 9 months. You just got to, make sure you keep them that way, but they'll pop their head up to catch a breath and all that. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it's pretty
Anybody
well. It's a survival thing too, right? Like you can't be living that close to a large body of water and not know how to swim, because
Yeah.
that's just deadly.
Oh, totally. Anybody in the comments, if you want to comment, what age did you dunk your kids in water?
In the Pacific
Let us
Ocean to learn how to swim.
Let us know. We've got Chris Miller. Hey, Chris, get to hear from you, man.
Yeah,
Awesome. And we've got, let me see here. We've got Roger
Roger.
Bauer as well. Take a minute to get Audio on looked like a story about flying. Turns out it's about swimming. Yeah. And, feel free to share your stories about swimming or dunking your kids in the comments, but also in the after show as well, community.f5.com, and check out the DCC group. And there's a Zoom link on there, and everybody can jump on audio and video at that point.
Yep. Surfers even train, right? They got the weights and stuff. They got to have like a 90-second, 2-minute hold breath time. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's serious because you get stuck under and tumbling in the waves. My wife learned early on as a child to make sure that she braided her hair anytime she went surfing, and especially at the North Shore. You might not know the reason the North Shore waves are so high is
Yeah.
because of the reef that extends out. So when the water comes in, it hits the reef, and that then makes the waves so high. Sometimes you'll see the camera guys out there in the water, and they're up to their neck. They're literally got their feet on the coral. But
Oh, no way.
in those instances, there was a time or two before my wife would braid her hair going surfing, because if you spill and you got long hair, your hair could get caught in the coral, and then now
Oh,
you're
wow.
trying to yank your head out underwater as the waves are yanking you back and forth. So
Yeah.
it's you don't you don't play when it comes to big waves, the Pacific Ocean, but it's still kind of interesting to see. You'll see the flags like high surf,
Mm.
dangerous conditions, and the red flag, no swimming sign, and you'll still see the 20 pros out there taking their turns on the big waves.
We got a couple folks here adding their comments. 14 months old for their daughter. Awesome.
Nice.
And Jason, 7 months old, accidentally. So what's the story here? She was in a ring floaty in Corpus Christi. Cool. And was loving life right up to the moment a wave crashed over her. She was done after that. Yeah.
So the moment we knew that our daughter Mahea Lunny, which is a Hawaiian name, our daughter Mahea could swim, I think she was only about 4 or 5, because I had been teaching her. We had been teaching her real early. She was leaning over the edge of the pool, reaching in for something, and she ended up kind of tumbling in head first and went in. And that was, kind of like that first time where you're like, but we stayed calm. I just, calmly walked over. And by the time I got over to the pool, I wasn't going to jump in, play that rescue dad stuff.
Mm.
By the time I got over to the pool, she was already, popping her head out the
Mm.
water and making her way to the edge. And I said, so what happened? And she said, well, when I fell in, I had my eyes closed and I was going down. And then all I did was like open my eyes, look up, and I started to move up to the top. And I go, you got it. There you go. Perfect. And
That's
so
cool.
it's always good to see that when your kid can get themselves out of a mess, especially a, swimming mess early in life.
Peter Fletcher's comment here. What am I missing? What are other comments coming from? Not seeing them on the YouTube. Those are popped up from Facebook, actually. So for folks who aren't aware, if you're watching from YouTube, great. And hopefully you're subscribed on there. But we also stream to a couple other channels, Twitter via the old Periscope functionality, which turned into just a native Twitter functionality. A couple other YouTube channels right now, actually, F5 Labs, as well as LinkedIn and the Facebook groups. There's a couple of Facebook groups that F5 is part of as well. So you can watch us from anywhere, but YouTube is the probably the best place, because you have the comment stream after that you can kind of tuck into and be able to leave messages on. We've got now I'm gonna hopefully not butcher this name, but I I know this fellow from LinkedIn here. It might be Ivgen or Ivgen. Labotnets. But
Yeah.
hello from Cork. That's awesome. We got our great Cork
We love our
office.
international friends.
Yeah. That is fantastic.
Boy, swimming turned out to be a hot topic this morning. Hey,
that was we went over that pretty good.
And you got the name right. Very good. Yeah, as Boo was mentioning, we will broadcast to YouTube, to Twitter, to LinkedIn,
Facebook.
Facebook. There you go. So
Yep.
welcome to those
Um,
who are watching from the corporate channel. We love having you join us.
Yeah, and great question there from Peter. Where's the link to the after show? So you have to actually head over to community.f5.com. Just it's a free sign up if you're not already on there. If you're an F5 customer, you're probably already on DevCentral because that's where you go to interact with the community. But if you haven't signed up for it before, go to community.f5.com. Just free and quick sign up, and then there's a group called DevCentral Connect. So me and Peter and Jason actually have our own group within DevCentral community where we can interact with folks specifically around show stuff. There's Peter's
Here we
got it
go,
up.
Boo.
We can show it.
So groups, and then the community groups, DevCentral Connects. And then right here is today's show. Hey, we forgot to mention, if you're on the platform, you could even just watch today's show right there within the forum, the group forum post, but then you'll find the Zoom link right down there.
Yep. Alrighty. And Peter, we've got some travel coming up. Hey, we're actually going to hit the road.
You're hitting the road before we are, aren't you, Boo?
Yep. Yeah. So next week I'll be at GlueCon 2022. So my first in-person event in so long. I'm pretty excited to see folks, and hopefully if you're listening right now and you're rewatching this, hopefully I can see you at GlueCon. So come flag me. We'll have a booth that it'll be an Nginx booth. I'm tagging along with my folks and my friends over at Nginx, and I'll be there for a couple of days at GlueCon, which is in Denver, Colorado, next week. So the 18th and 19th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, I'll be over there. Please do come say hi. I'll have some stickers and stuff. I would love to see folks from the community. Maybe we can jump on video even for a little bit as well.
Yep. And then the week of June 6th, Boo and I are going to be, shall I say, reimagining the whole trade show video scene. So if you don't know, or if you remember from back in the day, from like 2009 to 2010, I would broadcast is not the right term, but I would produce some, videos from trade shows. We'd find the booth. We'd do some fun how-to interviews, influencer interviews, just getting to know some of the folks at F5 and their specialties. So Boo and I are going to be at RSA this year, 2022, in the city by the bay at the Moscone Center. So we're in booth. I looked it up beforehand, Boo, but you know how the old man brain works. 57. What did I say before? 5771. We're in the North Expo booth 5771. Hopefully you can come visit us. Hey, if you want to get on camera with a couple of the hosts of DevCentral Connects, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, come say hi. I'm going to try to, whatever stickers I have left over from GlueCon, bring them out. Hopefully hand out, whatever swag I got, and meet the community in person. I would love to do that. The Zoom after show is awesome because we can see some faces on there, but seeing those faces and in person would be fantastic.
Yep. Looking forward to that. Definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Good times. I'm glad we're doing it again. Last RSA I was at was 2015. We did a bunch of videos with Studio that year. But yeah, it'll be good to have we will just take turns. I don't know how we're gonna do this. We'll flip a coin, or Junkempo, rock, paper, scissors or just go, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Looks like we got another like. Thank you. If you're enjoying this program, you might as well give it a like. Why not? Did it go another one? No. Oh well.
So in our format now, we've left room for headlines to go through, and what we'll do, actually, we also have a segment around security sidebar. Again, we've taken what were names of shows and we've turned them into individual segments. And if you're watching, actually, it just hit 8:45 right now, so there's a full version of this security sidebar interview that's being uploaded to YouTube. The full version's gone live now. We're going to play the mini cut that we have as well in just a little bit here. But ahead of that, we've got some headlines that we can talk about, Peter. Maybe we'll just go through one or two of these, and we'll actually talk about the headlines a little bit further later on. In the after show. But I don't know, which one should we talk about here? There's this other one, this one here that we had actually lined up as number one: GitHub requiring all users who contribute code to enable two-factor authentication by end of 2023. It's a no-brainer. I mean, we all need two-factor authentication. If you haven't added it already to your accounts out there, your social accounts and whatever, this is important. But enforcing this is interesting, and it's in direct reaction to supply chain attacks, right? So somebody potentially with the right access to the right repo could issue a pull request and insert some code in this, start sneaking in code into repositories that are heavily used. And so how they're implementing this is going to be based on popularity. So the most popular repos are going to have, whoever has access to it are going to have 2FA enforced on them at first, and then they're going to roll that out further and further to the more popular repos. And what's interesting is right now only 16.5% of active GitHub users actually have 2FA enabled. So I'm not sure in the context of all of the other big websites out there if 16% is good or bad, but we'd all love, especially for GitHub, we'd all love to see that much higher.
Yeah, and I think it's across the board. I guess the only thing I was sort of wondering, the end of 2023, that seems kind of a long rollout. I mean, I get that it takes some time to integrate all the technologies and give people a heads up that this is coming. However, it's one of those things. If it's a critical piece to the whole like security model of the internet. And I mean, I don't even know if the world's going to be around in 2023 the way things are going. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? It's sort of like
Twitter deal. The Twitter deal is going to close, and we're going to see how free speech affects the future of the world.
Well, there were the red skies in was it Shanghai? There was this phenomenon just yesterday or the day before where the skies were just blood red. I think it was in Shanghai, and people were posting pictures all over the place. Like, okay, I guess it's time, but it had to do with, obviously the refracting light and the way the Earth was and the way the sun works and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah. Jason's comment: security is inconvenient. Most people don't like to be inconvenienced, to our judgment. Get it? And that's that time span is probably a big grace period as they kind of tackle that top 100 repo and try to get all those people wrangled in, and how long that's going to take. But it's a step forward, so that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think with the time we have left, we got this mini cut of the security sidebar. We probably have to roll that at this point.
Let's roll it,
and we'll go
into
there.
the topics.
Peter, we're going to see double Peter now. Actually, let's see.
Let's see if I can lip sync my own
across North America. Please welcome the hosts of Security Sidebar, Sander Vinberg, Malcolm Heath, and me, Peter. Hey, community, welcome to April's DevCentral's Security Sidebar with F5 Labs. We always have a fun chat with the threat research folks here at F5. If you're new to the channel, we always talk tech among other topics. Sometimes it's peanut butter. How's that? So if you're into tech, specifically how-to tech, whether it's F5 products or technology in general, why don't you nudge that subscribe button? And it looks like I already have my guests on. Welcome, fellas.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Hey, Peter.
So last Security Sidebar in March, catch it on the replay if you haven't seen it. We talked about F5 Labs' recent 2021, that's it, application protection report. We kind of gave a general overview of it, got into some specifics, but this time we thought we would just zero in on ransomware. It's such a huge topic in the industry. Malcolm and Sander have some very interesting insights from the application protection report as it pertains to ransomware. So why don't we just dive in, fellas?
Yeah, for sure. The application protection report is one of our kind of big once a year reports, and what we're trying to do is pull together as many different kinds of observations about security as we can, and try to really capture what has changed in the last year that has an impact on how you're going to defend your applications, right? And so most of the time, what this really means is we're trying to document changes in attacker behavior. And a lot of the focus ends up being on how do attackers target different kinds of organizations using different techniques. That's a big part of what we're trying to do, because we want to be able to tell people when they show up on your network, if you look like this, they're going to look like that. That's kind of the most fundamental question. But the nature of security means that we end up talking a little bit about business risk and a little bit about configuration risk. And we end up sort of covering, at least briefly, a pretty wide range of things, which is why that report always ends up being so long. But this year, I don't think anybody who's been paying attention will be at all surprised to find out that ransomware is a huge part of the report this year. What we've seen, essentially for the duration of the pandemic, we've seen a pretty dramatic transformation in terms of how people are going after applications. And a lot of the trends in ransomware actually started before that. Some of the things that we are now seeing as like kind of standard in the ransomware playbook was sort of leading edge new ideas. For instance, like the affiliate model that's been around for years, but it really was sort of gaining steam 2017 to 2019. And then by the time the pandemic hit, I think all the conditions were really in place for ransomware to cause a lot of damage. So when we have this report and we say, oh man, ransomware, or rather malware, breaches that had a malware component sort of jumped from less than 7% of breaches in 2019 up to 17% in 2020, and then more than 30% in 2022. You'll find reports all over the industry that throw out different numbers. I saw somebody said that ransomware infections have gone up by 1,000%. And I think that those differences in numbers just boil down to kind of what you're measuring and whether you're using percent or, but the point is that it's really obvious that a big change has taken place. The reason I really wanted to get into it today is that I don't think it's necessarily clear what the shape of that change is. And so Malcolm and I have been talking about this a lot as we've been working on this report, and there's a couple things that I think are really kind of important to be clear about what's going on with ransomware right now.
So let me pause you real quick. If you guys are interested in the application protection report, you can visit f5labs.com or f5.com/labs to get your own copy. One of the things you mentioned earlier, Sander, was something about affiliate networks. So is that kind of like paying somebody to do it for them, like when you think about affiliate networks?
Sort of. Most of the time, the way that this manifests is that one actor is developing the ransomware tool, and then they are farming it out to affiliates who are targeting specific organizations with the tool, carrying out the attacks, collecting the ransom. And then most of the time, the way that the structure works, as far as I understand it, is that the affiliates are paying a cut up to the actual developer of the tool in exchange for being able to use it. And what I always think of, partly because there's so much research and documentation about the way that this thing worked, is the Gantt crab network, which I believe sort of really peaked 2018 and early 2019. Finally, it was around 2019 that the head of the Gantt crab network sort of announced that they were shutting the whole thing down and he was going to retire. And he claimed to have made over $1 billion in ransom. I have seen some analysts say probably he's exaggerating. He made a lot of money. I don't think he made $1 billion, but that was not the first instance of an affiliate model in this kind of attack, but it was, I think, maybe the one that really proved the concept and made a lot of other people go to that. So you can have different arrangements. Sometimes people buy the tool and then they don't have to kick back the payments. But the Gantt crab guy was sort of unique in that he was also helping designate targets, and he also, because the brand aspect was a really big part of how Gantt crab worked, he also started setting some targets as out of bounds. And he said, hey, we don't want to go after this kind of person. That's not what GandCrab is about. So the sort of social elements of the affiliate model are pretty fascinating. But that's really what we're talking about is a sort of distribution of labor so that you can get best of breed tools, but then you kind of farm it out to a bunch of people to attack whoever they want.
So he didn't show up on the Forbes list the following year as he reported his $1 billion.
Oh man, if we actually listed influence, they're always like the most influential people or whatever. If we listed sort of chaotic influence or negative influence, I bet that guy would have showed up, because both in terms of what happened with the GandCrab infections and kind of where GandCrab went after that, because I actually don't remember, unfortunately, which strain it turned into, but I think that one of the ransomware strains that's kicking around right now is actually a descendant of the GandCrab one. So in terms of long-term effects, he's quite influential.
This is a perfect point to inject a really terrible joke that I heard, somewhat modified, which is, where did the GandCrab guy go?
I don't know.
He ran somewhere.
He ran somewhere, yeah.
Dad jokes.
Yep.
Sorry, I had us muted there. They were back on. Peter, your face when Sanders said $1 billion. I love that one.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, I get those guys. I watch a lot of the scammers, especially the phone bank scammers in India, and how they turn the tables on those guys. It was a crew that does it all the time, and then the guy who creates the glitter boxes. He's done it now. He's on version 4 of the glitter box.
I watched this.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So they did that same thing to a couple call centers to shut them down for a while.
Yeah. Mark. So for folks who haven't seen this, what Peter's talking about is Mark Roper. Look up Mark Roper. He's got a ton of YouTube videos, but his latest one is what Peter's talking about there. Super funny.
Fantastic. He's like a NASA, or was a NASA engineer or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's
cool.
like, my wife sometimes thinks that my kids shouldn't watch a lot of YouTube, but for stuff like Mark Rober, he's awesome at teaching like concepts to my kids, like really interesting concepts that I don't know if they learn a whole lot of it at school necessarily, or maybe they have, once they get into high school. But my 8-year-old, my 11-year-old, they watch it, and my teen watches it as well, and they learn really cool stuff in there. So I highly endorse that channel.
Absolutely.
Cool.
We're getting close to the end. What do we got coming up? I know, I think we released the full, just so you guys know, we released that full interview on our YouTube channel while we were broadcasting live. So if you want to learn more about the full interview with Malcolm and Sander, you can catch that right up on our YouTube channel. As Boo mentioned, it'll be at GlueCon next week. We'll be at RSA the week of June 6th. Oh, real quick, I almost forgot. I want to give a shout out to my lovely wife, whose birthday is today.
Coming in at birthday.
58.
Awesome. So cool. Happy birthday.
Yeah. What do we got coming up next week? Do we have any idea?
I think Jason's coming up with the core. I mean, everything is now DevCentral Connect, so everybody can expect a similar format, and then we will have some sort of feature segment within there. But we're going to try to get to the headlines and stuff so that we can talk about these current events and start those conversations, which I think a lot of DevCentral is about that, right? Like having those conversations in the community, what's important. It's not always about F5. It's about what's important to the community. And we're there to support that.
Yeah, and what's really happening in the industry, because it impacts us all. The two-factor, or not multi-factor authentication, to properly identify it. That impacts everyone out there, and it's just a part of being a good internet citizen and having good internet hygiene, and literally protecting yourself against having somebody hijack, take over, impersonate you. In the olden days, how did you identify you identify yourself with, can I see your ID or your license? In the physical world, you have things that help identify you, but in the digital world, there are a lot of people out there that want to be you or pretend to be you. So
Jason just left a little teaser here. He might be taking a look at the DAG, which is an interesting subject, I think, for folks getting into the nuts and bolts of how a big IP appliance works. So that'll be cool. Otherwise, Peter, I think we're heading over to the after show now, right?
That's right. So should we show them one more time how to get there?
Sure.
Right,
community.f5.com. Make sure you're signed into there, and Peter will walk you through where to look.
Let's see. There's the share and that and share. And so, I don't think we're up there. There we go. Thanks, Boo. So if you just go to, as you see here, community.f5.com, we are sponsored by the DevCentral platform. Imagine that. And if you go to groups and then community groups and then find the show, DevCentral Connects, the top one is today, May 10th show. Just click in there. If you haven't registered already, please register. If you are registered, depending on when the last time you logged in, may ask you to re-hit it. And then you just hit that after show Zoom, and we will be there momentarily.
Cool.
We good?
Alrighty.
Good. That's a wrap for today. From my good buddy Boo, I'm Peter, and we're with F5. Thanks for watching.